And that there's we got glitch action already happening.
Starting.
All right, hear you. You hear me? All right. It looks so cool now. And you know, I noticed like the music went in and out. I was like, "What's that?" That's the first time I've heard that.
It didn't go out for me.
Oh well, no, it got higher and then lower a couple different times. I was like, "Oh, weird music fluctuation there." Okay, but we're here. Happy Tuesday. I am making stuff public in the places that needs to be public at. But what's up, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Happy Free Thinker Tuesday.
Let me throw something out there too.
Yes.
As the year turns, seasons change. We like to change things up as well, spice it up. If you would like to submit an intro to Free Thinkers, feel free to do so. And if it's cool and it worked, then we'll rock with that as well. So we enjoy the intro that we got.
Yes.
I like it. But we still looking to change stuff up too. We might keep all of them, use them at one point place. But yeah, send us something.
It's a damn shame it's going to take one of us turning on a studio to make our own doggone intros. And we have so many people that we could totally support who have entire studios literally 2 feet away from where they're sitting right now listening to this. Make us a 30-second intro. Let us put you on and put us on in return, man.
Yeah.
But that's one of my 2025 goals. I'm gonna open up my own studio.
I like that. When you say studio, what type of studio are you talking about?
Production, definite music production.
I like it.
Not so much in the playing of music aspect because I don't have the artistic ability to play music, but you know, music is just something I've been born and bred with from childhood, and being a fan of music and a lover of the art of music and just really my circle being of the musician family, and missing having that, right? Like being with the producer for 16, 17 years. I miss having a studio in the house going 24/7. Like I miss the sound of the studio and the production.
I was mildly impressed when you came into my office. You recognized all the equipment that I had. You're like, oh, okay. I see you got the MPC. I see you got the sensor. I'm like, oh, what you know about that?
I know my way around the studio. We had a full functioning production studio in our house, every house that we lived in for 16, 17 years. And, I miss that. I miss just music playing. I mean, I have music playing 24/7 anyways, but just the creation of music. And I'm such a hard music critic, but I'm such a music junkie that like, I always wish I would have gotten some turntables when I was younger. I always wanted to be able to learn how to be a turntablist, and I never did. And I never did anything, I don't think so much with me, because children come first, right? When you start having kids, and trying to like push that onto them, that's not what you want to do. You can't make somebody do that, right? But I was like, shit, there's no reason I can't. Just because my kids might not want to, and music might not be a passion of theirs like it is for me, there's no reason I can't set up a studio in my own damn house, even if it's just for play. So we've got all kind of studio equipment now that my son is, heavily into building computers. He's going to build me a computer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like what else? Like there's no reason not to, right? I'd be the only reason that it wouldn't happen. So that can't happen. So I'm looking forward.
I'm in full support. Y'all know I gotta buy.
Thank you. No, I'm looking forward to it. We will have plenty of 30-second intro music once we get our own shit cranking if we got to.
Right, yeah. You said what university?
Wait, it gotta have words. What's the deal? What's the setup?
What happened?
It just need to be intro. I mean, it need to be intro and it need to fit.
Yeah.
You know what could be fun?
I mean, the intro that we got now it doesn't have audible words, so I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to have words.
What could be cool? If we picked, I mean, this is a lot of work, but if we had people submit, and like every month it's a thing for New Year. New Year.
If submit and do what?
Submit an intro for every month. It's like a competition where you get to submit an intro for,
Right.
Could be cool.
Yeah.
If enough people did it, that'd be cool. Including myself. I got an idea. I just got to put it all together. It's going to take me a while to put it together, but I got an idea.
I just had to have the time, the space, the money, the equipment. Man, once that's there, that's it. It's a wrap. My dad always said, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And I firmly believe that. I really do. That doesn't mean other people aren't great at things, but if you want some shit done right, sometimes you got to do it yourself. So I'm with that. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let me get this started real quick because I only have one observation from Pick a Post. And then I'll let everybody else jump in and see how long I make it. Oh, and by the way, since we went 7 hours last week, it was going to be a hard close. Unless Nikki say otherwise, I'm not going to be up here.
I'm good with that. Look, I'm trying to go down and support Trey and them. They got their last Tuesday night of the season. So no, I'm good with that. Let's get out of here.
That's what's up. So make sure that you like, share, follow. If you haven't already, sign up to our YouTube page. If you want to be on, this is not a me, Nikki, and Denise thing. This is for the people, everybody. Spread your wings and feel free to think freely as possible. But yeah, just make sure you got something in your ears. Keep in mind we have adult content, adult language, and just go with the flow. Check us out. And then if you just in the comment section, make sure you send us a comment, respond to us, let us know that you're there. And we're going to have a good, quick time. So the only thing that I actually did not want to respond to a post. I wanted to respond to actually a comment from our conversation that we had last week. So, Nikki, right before you got on, Denise was asking me a little bit about my background and my church background and all of that stuff like that. And a good follower never gets on, but he always follows us and has good commentary on there. Lloyd Jelks, he responded to some of the things that I was saying when it comes to how I associate and disassociate with the church. And I'm going to read his comment that he had following that. Yes, go ahead.
Did he comment at? Because I didn't see it on the YouTube stream or on the on my stream. So was it on yours on the Facebook page?
Maybe it was on my page. It's weird because it'll show up in certain areas. I'm looking at it right now, and it was on a shared post that I have. Maybe it was directly on my page.
Okay,
it'd be crazy. Yeah, all of the stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Comments show up different spaces.
So kudos to that, because I too rewatched the show after we got, and I missed that first 10-15 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, this was phenomenal questioning. Shout out to Denise.
Denise
was a great, I hated that I missed that. So I'm curious what his questions to you were. I'm glad you're going over this.
Yeah, so he just, not really a question, just more so of a response to what I was saying just about the organization of the church. So Lloyd's saying, if they discuss that information with the congregation, talking about pastors, because I was referring to pastors knowing information and not giving all of it. And that's something that I came to find out later that, when they go to colleges and universities, they're actually taught this information that a lot of people ask, but that's not something that you regularly hear in a Sunday morning service or even a Wednesday Bible study.
Can you elaborate? Because there's this pastor I listen to, Darius Daniels, and he's really good about explaining the scripture, but explaining also what these things meant based on these times and whatever region they lived in and things like that. And I feel like a lot of people who go to school for theology, there's pastors that just pastored and never went to school for theology. And I think you're speaking of the pastors that actually went to school for theology. So they've learned about all religion.
Yes. So that's what you're talking about, hermeneutics and hermeneutics, which hermeneutics is the art of properly interpreting the Bible. So there's certain rules. If you want to read something, you got to look at what's repetitively said. You also have to look at the history, the times? Was it transcendental? Was this something that was spoken to a specific group of people, or was this something that was meant to apply to all people at that time? And if it was meant to a certain group of people at that time, is that something that is still designed to apply in today's generation? So there's a long list of rules in how biblical scholars interpret scripture. Now I understand they don't want to go that deep into it, but when a person asks those type of questions, when you have a church member who starts to ask those type of questions, if you know it in the right space, you should acknowledge some of those things. Even when we talk about some of the books, how did the books make it in? How does they decide to pull some of the books out? Like how do they go about deciding what is relevant information versus what's not? So that's just a small pinch of a lot of stuff that I'm not even going to get into. But that was what I was referring to at the time. But he was saying if they discuss that information with the congregation, that goes against denominational teachings, which that's why I also said I don't really support denominations, like being a part of any one denomination or being a part of any doctrine.
Can you elaborate on that, Q? What do you mean by it doesn't support denomination teachings? How can something in this?
Well, I'm saying I don't support denominations because denominations, the best way I can describe it is just like our political system. When Republicans and Democrats, So what he was talking about, if they discuss that information with the congregation, that goes against denominational teaching. So a denominational teachings, there's a set structure of how they teach and what they believe in. And they say that's why I said it's very similar to Republicans and Democrats. They say these are the group of tenets and beliefs that we have, and now we're transferring these over to you. Now that this is what our denomination believes, so now this is what you believe. So it's hard for you, and I'm gonna bring it to simplest term. It's hard for you to be a Democrat and not support LGBTQIA rights. Because if you're a part of this party, then you also have to agree with all of the tenets of this party as well. So you see what I'm saying?
That's why they don't go into detail, so that they don't have to alienate whatever group, whatever.
Right, because a lot of the teachings, some of those things go against. So you'll have Baptists who believe that you have to be baptized, and most denominations deal with the gateway to salvation, how a person becomes saved or gains eternal life. So you have Pentecostal or Church of God in Christ people believe in the works and the move of the Holy Spirit, and either with saying or without saying it, if you're not filled with the Holy Spirit, then you haven't really received Jesus. Some people are Baptist or Church of Christ, and they believe if you haven't been baptized, you haven't really received Jesus. Some people believe not only you got to be baptized, you got to be baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and it gets, in my opinion, it gets kind of ridiculous. And then you have the Catholic Church that believes you have to go to the priest in order to receive forgiveness. So you can't go directly to God and ask for forgiveness. You got to go do confession, and the priest has to either absolve you or tell you what you need to do to get right with God again. And I don't follow that. So these are all different things that each denomination or each church structure has. And I said I don't agree with any of that, and I don't believe in being a part of any group that would try to everything that they believe. Am I about to go out again like I always do? Am I freezing up?
Kind of cutting. I don't know if it's just on my end, but he is kind of.
No, it's been a weird thing.
It's probably me. It does that all the time around the same time. It does that every time. Can you hear me? Or I'm still chopping up.
No, you're okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Let me hurry up and get through this. All right. So did that make sense to you, Denise?
Yeah. So basically, they don't want to alienate their following, so they, don't. Because
they've taught their congregation to follow a set of belief systems, and
so they withhold information.
Yes, I would say that. Yeah. They will not put out their pastoral excuse me, okay, denomination. This is Lloyd talking again. They will be put out of their pastoral positions or any other positions of the church. The church is not designed for information of truth, but only to keep the people coming together and continue teaching and confusing. Once truth is taught, the people separate due to comfort of lifestyles and accepting change. Now, thank you for that response, Lloyd. The only thing that I agree with probably about 85% of that. The only thing that I would say, I do not agree that the church is not designed for information of truth. I believe that they're selective in truth. So now, if you want to argue that either you're giving me the whole truth or you're giving me a lie, okay, you could say that. But in the same instance, when you have a 2-year-old or 3-year-old son, daughter, niece, nephew, do you go in detail when they ask you about your relationships or something like that? You give them parts of truth that they can handle or that you feel that they can handle, but most people don't give the whole raw truth out there. So I don't believe that partial truth or certain pieces of the truth makes a thing a lie. I do believe, and what I've also come to understand as well is I really do understand that there's a lot of people who don't have a desire for the whole raw truth like some of us are.
Q, this is such a contradiction to say that at church that you're not getting the truth or you're not getting the whole truth. And it feels like, because for me, if someone withholds information, intentionally withholds information from you because they don't want you to, for whatever reason, have enough sound information to make a choice, because they know if you did have that information, you would leave. That is very manipulative, and that is not Christ-like at all. So, I mean, yeah.
So again, go back to my analogy though. So if one of your nieces or nephews ask you a real adult question, are you going to give them the whole answer, and are you going to give them an answer in the same way that you give it to me if I asked you?
I would let them know that I'm going to give them information, and I'm going to let them know that at this time in their life, there are certain things that I can't tell them. And when they get older, if that time comes, cool. Or I might say, this is not my role to tell you these things. So I can tell you this, but
it's a form of withholding still. Go ahead.
But it's not, there's a thing is withholding and being forthright about it, and then being secretive about it. And it feels like what you're speaking to when it comes to the churches, they're not outright saying, hey, I'm not going there in this particular sermon because I want to focus on this thing, or I don't want to confuse people. You're just simply going around the truth. And that's where it becomes manipulative. But if I tell my niece or nephew, hey, this is you're not old enough to have this conversation.
Right.
This. You know what I mean? So that's where the manipulation comes in, because you know that if I know this
all right, hey, we in the thick of it right now. Let me ask you a question.
This information.
Let me ask you a question. Is manipulation always bad?
I'll say this. There are times where you may want to manipulate someone because you think it might be best for them, but then there's a breakdown in trust. There's a breakdown in trust, because you're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing because I think this thing might help them, or I'm going to say this thing because I think this thing might help them. But that's a breakdown in trust once you manipulate. I can't think of a time where manipulation was helpful. I can't.
No. Go ahead.
Well, especially because the person who's being manipulated is being deceived in this manipulation, and there just doesn't seem to be a very fair place ever where being deceived and manipulated is ever really going to be in my best bet. Even if you are keeping me from the worst of the worst, are you though? Right? Are you really? Because you don't even know what the worst of the worst could be, because I ain't been given it yet. I haven't even been exposed to that worst to know how to respond. You know what I'm saying? I feel like all things have an age appropriate way of being addressed, and even with children, I think there's age appropriate ways to address things. I think that people, whether we talk about sex with children or God with children or questioning God with children who may have questions just because they're children, right? Like, I think that oftentimes this whole, don't ask questions thing is put forth to stop people from having free thinking, to stop you from being able to accept that this is a natural process. Like, it's okay for me to be inquisitive. It's okay for me to ask questions. And I feel as though if you are shut down from the ability to ask questions, that is manipulative. You are stopping something in me intuitively, innately. And that's cool if you're not.
So stay wide. So before you narrow in specific, Nikki, stay wide for just a second. Do you feel that manipulation is always wrong?
I do, because there's a lie and a deceit in there at all times.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example of where people think like withholding information is good. So I'll never forget this shit. When my great grandmother died, I remember my mom being so caught off guard because my mom is the only one who didn't live in Ohio. So they didn't tell her that she had been sick and all these things because their thought process is, oh, we don't want you to worry because you're so far away from home, kind of thing. But they don't realize is that when you don't let a person know what's really going on, even though you think that what you're doing is stopping them from stressing, in fact, a person might move differently if they know what's happening and what's going on. So like when the same thing happened with my grandma and she was sick and nobody wanted to tell like my generation that she had cancer because I was there. Right. I was like, hey, y'all, they don't want me to tell you this, but I gotta tell you. Sorry. You know what I mean? Because you need to know what's going on. Like we were all in our 30s. Like we gotta come on. So think, like,
let me ask again. Do your kids, your children of a certain age, or your nieces and nephews, when they have the war going on in Israel and Palestine and they're actually showing genocide and slaughter and murder, do you show them those images?
Absolutely not, because I don't think anybody needs to be looking at those images.
Okay, so but what I'm saying, so in a sense, you could be accused of shielding them from the reality. When you say, oh yeah, they're not getting along and they're having a fight. No, they're not fighting the same way that you think of a fight. This is a totally different thing. But when you don't show them the full raw truth, that can be considered a form of manipulation. So I'm saying do you need to? There's lines.
Do you need to see a dead body to know that people are killing people?
To the extent of what it is, yes.
No, you don't. Absolutely not. You do not.
Oh, I disagree. So
I'm gonna tell you, Q.
Go ahead.
I do.
2020, Black Lives Matter. Hey, man just got choked out by the police. He didn't do anything. Whatever. Oh, this kid just got shot. Blah 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 blah. Why is it that when you're black or brown, there has to be actual images shown of you being slain? That is what you call I don't even know that's trauma. Seeing dead bodies, you're not supposed to watch people be killed. That's traumatic. And I would.
But Denise, if you don't see that, then where would be the cry for action and change?
Do I need to show my?
If they didn't show any, if they did not show any of the horrific pictures that went on in Israel and Palestine, us in America and all over the world, would there be any pushback? Would there be a rally cry to say we need to stop this, or a rally call to say, hey, we need to withhold funding from these groups or this and this and that? Look at what they're doing. If you don't show the imagery, then you are shading the truth.
To that point, Q, that is absolutely 100% what our public school system has done to us up to this point of such a wide access of information, right? They've shielded us. They've painted slavery like, oh, indentured servitude. They, they've made the indigenous people, oh, well, it's just like a little Thanksgiving, it's just like a little blanket with some shit, it really wasn't nothing. So they've taken what's actually fucking happened, these atrocities that most of us, especially, and I don't want to say especially, but I want to say especially, non-melanated people, we're certainly painted this picture of history and terrorism and acts against humanity, like they downplayed them drastically, right? So then you turn into an adult and you're getting real history, you're learning from real books, you're getting real knowledge and real fucking videos and pictures, and not just people making fun of the little girl, who's walking to the school for the first time, but like people actually beating the fucking little girl up. Nobody wants to see that, but sometimes you have to see what's really really happening to see what's really really happening, because too often they don't want to sit down into that.
And men oftentimes had a problem realizing what was actually happening to women a lot of times, because they wouldn't show that stuff, and then women be like, yeah, it happens all the time, and I'm like, no. So for instance, the one I go back to the little cat calling video we saw way back, and a woman walking down the street for 20 minutes, and it was about 16 17 guys in New York City cat calling. I'm like, man, that's fake, that ain't true. And then all the women kept saying, no, that's true. I'm like, no, it's not. I ain't never seen that happen. They're like, yeah, they're not doing that while you walking with us, but
right.
So what I'm saying is, had I not been exposed to something that I wasn't going to see for myself, then I wouldn't believe it. And that's the same thing that happens a lot of time. My argument is about the truth itself is a nuanced thing. You can't say, oh, this is truth, this is lie. There's levels to everything. And even what I think is the whole honest to God, raw, uncut truth is still not the full truth. There's still other things. That's what I'm saying. There's always different levels and dimensions of truth, in my opinion.
True, but I'm not showing no children no dead bodies. I don't care.
Okay, so that can be considered a form of manipulation.
No, it's not manipulation.
Yes, okay. Denise, I'm gonna give you another.
Children dead bodies,
Denise,
bro.
I'm gonna give you.
How are you supposed to process this information? I'm gonna show them this and what?
But let me talk. Let's go back to the manipulation part of it, though. And if you ever paid attention, probably from the I don't know what they're doing recently. I ain't watched the news in the last 5 years, but probably from 1970s all the way up to 2000s. The news, you go 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news, you go war, this and this, different wars going on. They had no problem showing black and brown bodies being dead and decomposed in the streets, but you would rarely ever see them show a white body dead in the streets the way that that's a form of manipulation.
How so?
Because they want to shield off the truth of what's happening. Because if
manipulation is showing the black and brown bodies and not showing the white bodies.
So let me give you a couple theories. Number one, if you see enough dead black and brown bodies, like you said, you can be desensitized. You can be traumatized and desensitized at the same time too. Now with these white wars going on that they wouldn't show this stuff, then they may not want to show the dead white bodies, because that would force white Americans to say, oh, we need to step in. There's white people dying over here. Think about how the type of support that the Ukraine got. And I ain't look, I don't like death and war nowhere around. But they was like, oh, support the Ukraine and we need to do this for the Ukraine. Meanwhile, there's a half dozen civil wars going on in Africa and ain't nobody saying 2 words about that.
But that's my point. So when they do want to show the white bodies, it's because they want some action. But they constantly show the black bodies and the brown
You're going
bodies.
to my point. That's That's a form of manipulation.
Showing is a form of manipulation in this particular case.
But when you're selective about anything, it's still a form of manipulation.
Yeah.
That's my only point. I'm just saying there's levels to it.
I mean, that's agenda right there. That leads to the agenda. And I understand.
Agenda is manipulation. Yeah.
Like Denise, I know what you mean. I don't want to show that to kids either. As an adult, I don't like that imagery to be put into my mind, right? Am I going to lay out like the worst images on the television and like, all right, kids, pull up a chair, we're going to get some fucking education? No, not quite, right? But I'm also not going to act like what's happening isn't happening. I'm also going to tell them how fucking angry I am and how unfair this is and how disgusting this is and how this has been continued to be allowed to be happen for decades and decades and decades. And if we continue to do what we've always done, we're going to keep getting what we've always gotten. So we will keep doing this to them, right? I will have the conversations that are very tough that I might not even really be 100% prepared to have, but we're going to have them raw. We're going to have them, this is what you see. This is how you feel. Let's talk about that. Yeah, it's fucked up that this is what you have to see, but let's talk about why it's fucked up. Not the fact that you're having to see it, but why it's even happening. Let's get all the way down to the roots. And they're never good conversations, but if it happened in front of them, you wouldn't be any more prepared to have the conversation to explain what happened right then and there in front of them than maybe you would in a conversation where it's something that they saw on television or news. But at the end of the day, you still got to have the conversation. And we have to find emotionally age appropriate ways to be able to process these things when it comes to the conversation with children, because we were all sold bullshit from the public school system. You know, I think depending on where you were, you may have gotten better education than some places, right? You may have had much more accurate account of things, depending on where you were. But so many people are coming into things today that they were like, that's not what they told me, you know, and are now going back and questioning everything that they thought or believed or stood on or whatever, because the information that was given to them was manipulated information.
Can I ask y'all a question?
Let me say something first, right before you ask, Denise. Mm-hmm. All I was going to say is, thank you, Lloyd, for that, because
really good.
As I was giving my statement of where I disagreed at, then it just brought forth a bigger philosophical question as far as is the whole truth the truth, and anything less than the whole truth manipulation. That's something that I think each person has to decide for themselves. I might be on the side of no, Nikki or Denise might be like, no, if you're not telling me the whole truth from an intent standpoint, then it couldn't be considered manipulation. So that element I hadn't actually thought of, but I don't think anybody can make a full conclusion until they decide if they consider that manipulation or not. But anyway, thank Lord for the statement. But Denise, you were about to ask a question. Go ahead though.
I wanted to ask this question because I feel like there might be a similar answer for all of us, but I'm just curious to know. When you were in grade school, high school, junior high school, when was the first time you realized, oh, this is some BS? Oh, this is not the whole story. Oh, they're telling me something that's not real. When was the first time you had that moment in school?
I'm trying to think if I ever did.
I can tell you my moment. When they told me about them damn pilgrims and the Native Americans, I was like, hold on. Hold on, y'all. What? And they were talking about Christopher Columbus discovering America. And I was like, wait a minute. He discovered America? But there were people here. That's when I was like, that's my third grade.
Well, not only that. Now, keep in mind, Denise, there was it's a little age gap between me and you, so y'all were y'all may be coming into a different information age than when I was there. But yeah, even with that though, now my first question, but it's so my first question was, Christopher Columbus discovered America. Why is it called America then? If Christopher Columbus, so then you learned about Amerigo Vespucci, and it's like, okay, so it's named America, but you saying he discovered it, and that didn't make sense to me. My thought about that is, you can sometimes have questions about things you don't understand, but if it's not a burning question or it's not prompting you for different answers, then a lot of times that may mean that you don't have a real desire to seek a different truth. I'm gonna give you one from the Bible of the Matrix. You remember whatchamacallit? He met with the agent. He was like, you know what I learned? He's like, I know this steak is fake. I know this is all a figment of my imagination, but it tastes good. He said, one thing I learned is ignorance is bliss. And when you told me that, when I learned the truth about myself and that we being chased by machines nonstop and we eating slop for the rest of our life, no, I want to go back to my comfortable lifestyle.
Ooh.
So I'm just saying, don't assume that everyone has that burning desire for information. And this is something that I had to learn because I would be a poker and prodder, and I'm trying to, as I started to learn and grow, I wanted to, and a lot of people go through that where they want to start telling everybody else, oh, let me start freeing some of these minds.
Right.
And you will learn quickly that a lot of minds don't want to be freed.
And we'll get offended.
Right. So again, are they actually being manipulated, or is this a process that they've chosen for them to be able to grow at the rate that they can? Am I the one who can say? Because the information that I receive that helps me grow can be very damaging to someone else, and that can short circuit their wires in their head, and it may not turn out well at all. So just a thought.
Who's to determine what could short circuit someone else, though?
I think
outside of being
I think the individual has to decide for themselves. So the fact that the fact that you're at this church and you've decided to submit under the will of your God and your pastor, that also, because I mean, in most cases, unless you on the David Koresh stuff, nobody's forcing you to do this. You're making a choice based upon where you feel you need to grow,
or based on what you were led to believe. And if you were led to believe certain things based on certain information that you were given and other information that was withheld from you, you see how that's this kind of vicious cycle?
But what I'm saying is it's hard to make that argument when there's more people that's in that circle who was given that information, and there's just as many that chose to defect or go a different direction than those who decided to stay.
You deciding to stay doesn't mean that you have all the information.
But it may mean that you don't want additional information.
How so?
How can I say that you want more information and this is where you decide to stay and you tell me that you happy and I don't want to go nowhere else, and you get curbed at the thought of me presenting another option to you?
How would that person know if they never presented the other option?
Well, let's go back to the Matrix. How did Neo know that there was a world beyond what he was seeing in front of his face?
He was presented with both options.
No. Before that. No. They came to him even before he was presented with them options. And they said, you know, because he was about to jump back out the car. It was raining and green. And they was like, hey, you can leave if you want to, but you know what that road leads to. And all those questions that you got, we know about the dreams that you having. We know about all the questions that you got. And you stepping back out this door ain't gonna answer. It's not going to satisfy that burning hunger that you have. And he jumped his butt back in the car. Now I'm a professor in the book of the Matrix.
But he was given that information. It was hey, showing up to your door, follow the chick with the white rabbit. You're getting all these little clues. You could have just stayed at home. You ain't have to go to the club.
What would lead him to follow after those clues? What would lead him to follow after those clues?
Curiosity. But he still was presented with the option. You're saying you're not presenting another option. You're saying this is the option you can handle. They're saying here are the options. You choose what you can handle.
You got to take the option.
I think, but the curiosity is what got him to the options.
Yeah,
was it? Because he was at home minding his business on the computer.
Yes.
He was chilling at home on the computer minding his business.
And what was he doing on the computer?
Searching for answers, because he knew something wasn't right.
I thought he was just coding.
No, he was searching for stuff.
Okay.
Well, look, I love that topic. That was a good conversation. As far as that's good philosophical topic right there. So,
did you have anything to add to that whole? Is manipulation always bad to you? Your thoughts on leaders withholding information, all that kind of stuff.
And if you're not telling the whole truth, is that manipulation?
No, I don't think not telling the whole truth is manipulation. I do believe that manipulation is always bad, though.
Okay,
that's good.
Because manipulation is twisting. It's not just withholding. Manipulation is a twisting of a truth. And
So
why
ahead,
does a
Ira, sorry.
truth need to be twisted?
Ivory.
A truth needs to be twisted for power, control. Like it, the reason truth needs to be twisted is never good. Now, I know reasons why truth can be withheld and it's good, but I can't think of twisted truth that's good.
As a Christian, I got something for you, Ivory.
This
What's the name of T.D. Jakes' church?
The Potter's House.
Where does that scripture come from?
Molded
I ain't saying that you.
by the-
I ain't saying give me the actual scripture, but you know what? I am the potter, ye are the clay.
Yeah, you are the clay.
The whole parable was about the potter molding the clay into being a masterpiece that the potter has in mind for it to be.
Right,
So
but if you this is the problem though. If you take that in the context of the whole Bible, then the context of that is God has already designed us to be what we are, and He is helping us be what He's already designed. So it's
that would be a poor analogy if it was.
But it has to be the analogy because that is consistent with the rest of the Bible.
No, because the potter is the analogy of the potter is not referring to a finished product. It's referring to clay that's in the process of being molded and shaped into what the designer has for it to be.
I don't want to get too theological,
okay,
but listen. So if you're looking at other scriptures and it says you won't appear to be what you really are until you see Him. I seen through a glass dimly, being clear face to face. These are scriptures saying that
what I was talking about once you get to the other side, though, Ivory.
But I'm saying, but
that ain't even talking about on this side of earth.
And give me just 30 more seconds.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The process of sanctification is supposed to be transforming you into what you were always intended to be, not creating something new. And so that's the theology of the Bible. It's not about just making you into something. It's like I created you to be something already, and I'm helping you get there. That's the message of the Bible. So even that scripture I wouldn't use in the way you're using it. But I digress.
Okay, I got it. We could go another hour with that, but I ain't gonna do that. Let's get everybody up in here. So okay, good conversation. Everybody, appreciate everybody's input. Pick a post. Where y'all want to go with this? Who got a post that they want to go with something?
Nikki.
I did.
Nikki over here got a chin like this. Oh
Yeah.
No, I put a video in here. Well, I was trying to follow y'all, but I had to just listen. But I'm trying to find where is the video. Which video did I post? Oh yes, it was the video about the man, the dad who had the vocal feminization surgery done. Why can I not find our damn videos? I posted it. I don't know why it's not letting me pull up the video. I screen recorded the video and I put it in there to watch. Why? Here we go. There we go. Anyways, so on the Freethinkers group page, there is a video that I posted earlier this week or late last week, and it was about a transgender woman, so a male-born woman who just had vocal feminization surgery, and there was maybe about 6-7 comments on the video on the page, so it was interesting. I'm just curious to get y'all's feedback. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but it is just really quick video. It's not that long. Let's see what happens.
It's hearing my voice for the first time since my vocal feminization surgery.
Are you guys ready to go to Disneyland?
What? Nice!
What do you guys think about Mama's voice?
I like it.
Yeah, it's still a bit hoarse, but I can see the bass of your voice now.
I know.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. These guys were so excited yesterday. We were driving to LA to pick up these two, and you guys couldn't wait to hear Mama's voice, huh?
I'm so excited to hear Mama's voice.
I know. It'll be so fun. I had to wait forever. She made me wait so long.
I need to hear a comparison. What did the voice sound like before?
They definitely did not share that.
I need to
That
know
would have been
this.
good to hear.
Yeah.
Because
Definitely.
I feel like
She said all the 3 words.
Who? Oh, the
woman. Yeah. She said 3 words. I'm like, I didn't hear enough to say the Pledge of Allegiance or something. Let me hear you say enough so I can tell. I need different vowels and inflections to know where the deepness come in and out of. That probably wasn't even your question, Nikki. What's your question?
No, it wasn't. You know it wasn't. If I would have paid for that surgery, I would have been disappointed because if I'm gonna go get the surgery, baby, I need to sound like a natural born woman. And she sounded like she didn't have any work done. So maybe it's because it was a new surgery or whatever. But if I'm putting my money up, because baby, guess who's not paying for that? Cigna's not paying for that. So you put your own money up. Your health insurance, your health insurance is not paying for that. So that's a little too rich for my blood for me to not sound like me. So that's my thing in terms of the actual surgery itself. Now, in terms of, I know where you're going with this, Nikki, which is like the children. My thing is, those your kids, do what you want with your kids. One thing I learned about being an auntie is they ain't my kids. They are not my kids. If I can tell you how many times I heard these ain't your kids.
Until they are, though. I mean, yes, in theory that's accurate, but they are. They're your kids until they become everybody else's kids. When they become society's children, and they become the schoolhouse children, and they become your workplace, co-workers. Like, it's all fine and dandy until you have to be around some other people, right? And now you have to confine within the village, right, or whatever the village dynamic is. So yes, of course, those are your kids. You can do whatever you want, but I even hearing you call this man a she is I'm like, are we? Is manipulation always bad, right?
That's how they identify now. So it's not manipulation. That's just how they chose to identify. They chose to identify as a woman. Like, that's their thing.
By way of manipulation, because we know that they're not. I mean, we know that. I mean, biologically, we know this, right? We know that this person was biologically born a male with, male chromosomes, right? So, to call this male-born woman who wants to identify as a woman, who isn't a woman, who doesn't do what women do, who doesn't have women's parts, right? To call him a her, to call dad a mama, to create a space in which you clearly encourage and or require the children to call dad mom now. I don't know, seeing that video and just looking at all of them just lie to themselves into this space in which we've created as the norm today. So ironically, is manipulation lying?
How can you say that? How can you say they're lying to themselves?
Because
they are.
Because by definition of words, they are. Thank you.
No, no. What I'm saying is, if they love their parents,
sure,
they could actually be happy. And that's one of those things as parents. What the parents are excited about, then the children are going to. How many things are my children excited about because they know I'm excited about it? My son probably is a gamer right now because he knew I like video games. Like, people just get excited. So it's not about what it is. It's, I see excitement on the faces of my parents, and I'm excited because they're excited. Denise, will you?
Because this is what has been forced down your throat, right? If these children were not raised in this environment, you think that this is the kind of excitement?
Okay, well, maybe unhealthy food and chicken wings and meatballs was forced down my throat at one point in time, but I like them. I really do.
Well, of course, they're designed to trick you. They're designed to manipulate your brain into making you think that they're delicious foods. And even
No, it's delicious. It's delicious, and you can't tell me no.
Buds say that they taste well.
You can't tell me that it ain't. It's delicious, Nikki.
The taste buds say so. The manipulation is the body telling you that, oh, this is really good for me. Meanwhile, I'm getting fat and my cholesterol.
So Nikki and Denise jump in. My issue again is you're putting your mindset onto the thoughts of other people, and my question is, are we qualified to? And I'm not saying they are or ain't. I'm just saying, are we qualified to say if a person is or isn't happy based off of the surface facts itself?
I just said
talking about happiness.
Yeah, we were never talking about happiness. You're
talking about the kids, right? And because you said the kids, you know, they look like they were, and they were clearly not. And I'm like, well, they look like they were excited to me. Well, anyway, let me stop going. Denise, jump in.
This just goes to show you how we create these things within our home lives that we've determined to be normal, that our children are forced to believe are normal until they then get out of the household and they're like, oh, the way my parents drink is not normal. The way my parents do drugs is not normal. The way my parents do XYZ, this ain't so normal. Of course, it's normal when we're children because we have nothing to compare it to. And then the real world hits us. And then you start to evaluate the manipulations from in which you've clearly lived under, you know, and this can go for a lot of different directions. It isn't just this particular video, but in this particular video, I feel like that's an interesting dynamic happening underneath that roof. And I think it's a lot of lying and a lot of manipulation happening to make this be okay.
I'm saying it's possible. I'm just saying we don't know. And furthermore, if the way I kind of draw the line is because it wasn't something directly done to them, as opposed to some of these parents trying to force their children to get sex changed and telling them that, oh, you really want to be like that. Now you're actually forcing something upon them versus just a choice that someone else has made. Denise, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I have a few thoughts. So on one hand, you know, like if gender is a social construct and like a lot of these concepts, time, all these things are like social constructs that we use to identify certain things, right? Then why can't Buddy be a mom now? If that's what, like, if Buddy wants to be a mom, Buddy wants to have a new voice, you know, Buddy wants to be called a woman. Like, I think, but if Buddy wants to be a trans woman now, I have no problem with that. Do your thing, 21. Like, live your best life. Now, on the other hand, I do think that you can do all of these things and still just be like, I'm a man. Like, you know, I think that there's a world where I think because we have all these social constructs and if you're like this and like this and like this, that means you have to be a woman now and you have to be, if it wasn't that way and people could just do whatever they wanted to do and we didn't have to attach a title to what people were doing, I think this would be less crazy. People would just be like, oh, Buddy's doing his thing. And that's it. But because we've attached these titles to certain types of people, when people say they now want this title, it seems crazy, as opposed to any other work that people are getting done, where they're getting their nose done, getting their breasts done, getting their ass done. You're changing who you are. You're changing physically who you are to be something else.
That's just your outside. That doesn't change what you were born and bred to do. So you say there's nothing wrong with him being a mom. And maybe when you become a mom, you will feel differently, because there's definitely something wrong with a man being called a mom, because a man can't bear children. A man can't grow children. A man can't push them out of his vagina. He doesn't have one, right? Mm-hmm. I get the woman thing. Like, I don't care what a person identifies as, to be completely honest. I don't care. Like, I as long as your love is consensual and it's between adults, I support whatever you want to do. But I'm not going to sit here and say that this ain't some throat ass shit. And this is not normal. These children look like they've clearly been born and bred into accepting and acknowledging that this is just normal, when this is not normal. So yes, Buddy can be a mom because that's what they that's what they do in their house, right? That's how they do dress up in their house. But in reality, Buddy can't be a mom. Buddy can dress up like a woman because he identifies as a woman, and maybe that's his comfortable space, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But Buddy can't be a woman. He can't bleed. He doesn't have a uterus. He doesn't have ovaries. He's never going to do the same things that a woman can do. So I get it, because inclusion is absolutely important. Representation is also very important. But at some point, I feel as though we do gotta stay in the land of reality instead of just letting the lines mix all over the place. So yeah, you can get your nose done, you can get your boobs done, you can get your butt done, you can all those things, but but you're not identifying as a completely different sex of person. Like you got modified. You look good. You like how you look. You like how you sound. All those things. But going from a male, now having your children call you a mom, and having your mom force you to call your dad your mom, and being excited about your new mom feminine voice, like that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot going on. And that video, I don't know, watching that video and watching those kids, and if you're a parent and you watch how those children respond, they some different kids. There's some different shit going on in the house. It's just different. I don't know. It's just all different. And I don't know. Kevin had posted something on Freethinkers, and it said something to the effect of, Are we going too far? Are we not telling the truth enough? Are we just letting shit go just because it's politically correct? Like, as opposed to calling things what they are, and being truthful about what things are, and stop just kind of going along with the flow, because if you don't, then you're going to get canceled, or you're going to get looked at crazy, or you're going to be called phobic of some sort, as opposed to
Well, that question is easy. Yes, we've gone way too far. That's the easy question.
We definitely have gone too far, but I would still say this. Whatever benefit the people get out of these transitions, still, like I was watching a video, and a guy who was identifying as a girl would get so upset anytime somebody says sir. But I mean, you look like a man, and you sound like a sir. You have on women's clothes and lipstick, but I mean, you sound and still look like a sir, but like really upset. And I was thinking,
and they need to stop. They should be ashamed of themselves, because whoever said sir, I promise you, they ain't the first person who said it. You get that quite often, so don't get upset when somebody said that. I stopped getting offended. Like I stopped getting embarrassed when I mistakenly said sir to someone, or ma'am to someone. I'll be like, oh sir, oh my bad. Excuse me, ma'am. But I know I ain't the first person who did it.
Right.
And there's things that you can do to clearly, be distinctive on what you are if you so chose to do so. So don't get mad at me. Mm-hmm. I don't accept that no more.
I understand why people feel the way about being misgendered. I do think there's a learning curve, and I think that this is a new idea. Well, not completely new. People have been doing this for a while now. I think like back in the days they would do the same thing. But anyways, I'm saying all that to say, like, I understand why people feel a way about being misgendered. That's what you call it whenever you call a person a gender that they do not identify as. And I think there needs to be a little more grace with the learning curve and people figuring out pronouns and et cetera and things like that. Now, I'm going to put it out here like this. While I agree with everybody living their best life and doing what they want to do, I will say I think people who get plastic surgery to change their bodies in any way, shape, form, or fashion is someone who needs to go talk to somebody.
Sure.
And it doesn't matter if you're trans, straight, gay, binary, non-binary. If you're going under the knife to change how you look, I think you need to go talk to somebody. Because I think it's all based in some sort of self-hate.
Uh-huh.
But do your thing.
Mm.
Do your thing. Just don't force it on me. Don't force it
There's
on
a
me.
line with that. There's
My
a line
kids.
with that. There's a line with that.
You know, but do your thing. I'll use the pronouns that you would like for me to use. I have no problem with that. I'll support you. I have no problem with that.
Now, hold. I do think there's a difference.
Hmm?
It's a difference between just a first time casual encounter versus somebody you may work with. If I work with somebody and I know how they want to be addressed, then don't address them at all, or don't be disrespectful by wrongly addressing them.
Like intentionally doing
Right.
it.
Now, if we're at the
you
bus
feel
stop and
like-
I ain't never seen you before and I say, thank you, sir, and you a male, oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am. My bad.
Right.
Ain't no need for you to get, I went off of what my eyes saw.
Right.
And my eyes told me that you look more masculine than feminine. No need for you to get offended or upset. And if you are offended, you should be offended with yourself, because you need some changes. Either the way that you dress, your appearance, do something. There's things that you can do easily.
And I will say this though, I gotta say it while we're here. The one thing that I would say I don't like about this video is keep these kids off the internet. To me, this is enough for them to have to process already with their young minds.
Do agree with that.
And going to school, oh baby, you getting bullied. Like, I don't know, maybe these new kids don't bully. I don't know. They bully? The new kids still bully? Okay, the new kids, Gen Z's bullying, or Gen A, what Gen Alpha, what's the young kids? They Gen Alpha. Keep your kids off the internet. It's enough to have to go through this process on their own. For them to have to hear you talk for the first time and be, oh.
I got a thought, Denise.
I
got a thought, Denise.
All right.
I would go far as to say they want their kids to be bullied.
Sure.
What's that?
Sure. Yeah, this is the
because they want them to be that marginalized minority just the same way that they are, and that's why they're going out of the way to show you their personal lifestyle choices. And they want that because there is an element. Now, I'm not going to just openly put it on someone, but I will say that oftentimes I feel that there is an element to where people are looking for ways to be different and stand out. And they do these extra things. And in the same manner that they're doing law, he's got this voice thing, this and this. They also want their children. And that's why you get some of these parents who push for their children to be transgender. And even when their children may not actually want it, but they want them to be that marginalized minority. And it makes them feel special because they have this minority child.
It's like Munchausen by proxy syndrome, right?
Yeah,
like
that's
forced
what it's
to be sick. Like there's nothing.
Right.
Like this is not
syndrome, Nikki.
Munchausen by proxy.
What does that mean?
It's like what Eminem's mom had. She would always make them be sick. She would force them to be sick. You would act as a cancer patient, so you would get sympathy and you could get GoFundMe's, and you would have people feeling so bad for you because you shaving your kid's head bald, their hair's not falling out. You're shaving their eyebrows off, it's not falling out. Like you're living this lie for this attention, and I think that a lot of this is attention. I read something a couple years ago that like this is the new boutique white family, right? Like this is the thing. Like all white families now have like this transgender component to it, and your kids are okay with it, and the kids calling dad mom and mom dad, and like I got to like it's become like the thing, right? And so now you have special accommodations. You have, there's just you get into the bigger picture, and again. Inclusivity is important. Representation is important. I'm not going to sit up here and say that it's all things bad, right? But I am going to sit up here and not keep allowing like this shit to just be normal, because it's not. Like some of this is not, and if I was an LGBTQ person, some of this shit would offend me. Because this is just like you're just hitching on for the next thing, right? Like switch up later on, decide all of a sudden now I'm not a woman anymore, I'm back to being a man, or now I'm not a man anymore, I'm back to being a woman. Like,
and that's to go back to the denominations and doctrine. If you don't agree with that, Nikki, then they kicking you off that train.
Oh yeah, you know there's some
I'm
people
walking
who
anyway. I ain't on nobody's train to begin with, but
I've heard people tell me that are part of the LGBT community say that there are some people who claim to identify it as something specifically because they the perks of it, you know, like so, like, and the easiest one to do is to like pretend to be non-binary, because you don't have to change the thing about yourself. All you have to do is say, you know, like refer to me as they, or you know, whatever, and things like that. But there are people who specifically do that. They know that they can tap into a certain market. There are a few celebrities that I feel like have done this. I can almost guarantee you in about 3 or 5 years, some of those people, and even now, have already went back to using their original pronouns. And so I think the thing that I would like to talk about the most when we talk about these type of discussions is there's some people out there that like you meet them, you know, you like, nah, this is them for real. Like, you know, like
True that.
There's some people like, nah,
absolutely.
this was gonna always be your mission. Like, so
Absolutely.
but there
Well,
are
Nikki, how can you agree with that? You be confusing the mess out of me, Nikki.
Because at the same time, you know,
because you will say in one instance a person, they've been taught and groomed to be a certain type of way and to like a certain type of thing, so they don't really know what they like about it. Even if they think they like it, they really don't like it. I'm just poking holes at you.
Because I thoroughly believe there are some people who are born gay. I do believe that there are chromosomal things that happen within utero where shit just goes a fucking different way, and it's like, oh whoa, we got 2 of these, or 3 of these, or 5 of these, or less of these. Like, so I do know, and I acknowledge and I validate that, like, chromosomally sometimes shit does happen. So I do believe that there are absolutely people who
let me ask you another question along with that. I don't know, I'm just asking. Do you also believe that people are born with feminine mannerisms as well? Or do you think that's something that's learned or trained?
That's hard. I had a friend. Oh, go ahead, Nikki.
No, go ahead.
So I had a friend that I grew up with. And again, it's hard because I only knew him from about like, I was probably like 8. He was maybe 6, 7. And we knew back then. We were like, so-and-so's gay. Like, we knew as kids. And so that's still enough time for something to be nurtured in them. But I think some people are just born gay. I think some people choose to be gay, and I think that's fine too. I think some people choose to be straight. And that's also fine. But I think some of it is nurture and some of it is nature when it comes to that. Like, some you just can't help. You know, you like what you like.
Nikki, I mean, it's 9:22. We got 6.5 minutes left. Go ahead.
Yeah, I certainly haven't been around all the world's 2-year-olds, right? But I was in early childhood education for a very long time before I got into the substance abuse world. And of all of the 1-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds that have come into my life over 30 years of dealing with little people, I don't think I've ever come across an 18-month-old toddler that I was like, oh, this one's going to be gay, right? But I do feel as though once you're at that 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old mark and you're starting to understand vocabulary and letters and how to write your name and picking up the things that you're exposed to and really starting to like sponge into your environment, I think that that's where some of the behaviors start to get modeled, right? And this is where I think that if you have a home where there's no men, or have a home where there are no masculine men, your kid only has mom and aunts and sisters and cousins and grannies and teachers that are women, and so they pick up
and abuse.
Abuse.
Yeah.
Sexual abuse. Yeah,
sexual abuse.
Sure. Then you add in that whole element, right? Depending on if, the same-sex child, same-sex parent, whatever, opposite, whatever it may be. I think that's where some of the behaviors come into play. But I don't think I've ever come across a toddler that displayed too feminine or not feminine enough or too masculine or not, they're still such sponges to their environment, to their parents. Almost everything is attributed to their environment at that age.
Yeah. Ivory, you got any thoughts?
Some silly thoughts. But
We got 4 minutes.
I'm piggybacking off Denise, kind of with all of this surgery and stuff, and this be my mindset all the time. What you gonna do if the apocalypse hit? Like, who you gonna be then? What you gonna do if the lights get turned off? You can't get your hormone therapy, and you can't get your
You're gonna need that testosterone.
When people say like this idea that I have to have this modern medical thing that most of the world has no access to be myself, that blows me. Just really? That's what's required for your happiness and for you to be yourself. This Western over-industrialized kind of excess thing, that's what it requires for you to be yourself. That just is a crock.
Right.
That's my 3 cents.
Anybody got anything else?
Okay, I do want to say this.
Go ahead.
I want to encourage everybody, if you know about transgenders experiences or not, or maybe you got a kid or a family member or whatever, I would encourage y'all to actually watch interviews with people who've transitioned. There's this one interview I watched where a person who transitioned, a group of people who transitioned, and a group of people who detransitioned. And you get to hear a full wide range and scope of everyone's stories. And I think that'll help you understand other people more. And if you are in that situation where you are thinking about transitioning, you get a real wide range of stories and experiences so that you can understand what you're about to go do. If that's something that you're interested in doing, or someone who's interested in doing it, or you got kids that's interested in doing it. Because I will say this, once you get on hormones, you cannot get off.
Mm-hmm.
So from a pharmaceutical standpoint, you're on it for life. And detransitioning does a great deal on your body. So make sure if this is something that you must do, that you do your due.
The pharmaceutical company love drugs that you have to be on for the rest of your life.
Yes. And think about that aspect. It's a business. Right now, this is a business. This is a big business, and those are
sometimes
things to consider.
Denise, is sometimes just capitalizing on people who are just awkward, and how many people are in middle school and high school and are just awkward, and then somebody's telling you it's because you're uncomfortable in your body. No, you're just in middle school and it's uncomfortable.
And
then once these people get to 20, 22, 23, and they're actually coming into their own, they're like, I don't want to be a boy. Like, for a lot of them, it's like, I'm a gay girl, but I didn't want to be a boy. I was just going through puberty and I got uncomfortable. And somebody told me, have you ever thought that maybe it's because you're not a girl? And I was like, oh yeah, maybe that was it. So
that was one person's story on the thing that I watched. They straight up got all kinds of work done, got their breasts done, did all this stuff.
2 minutes.
And they were just like, I'm not a woman. They just straight up, but they said still had all the stuff and they were still intending to keep all of it. They straight up were like, I'm a man. After going through all of that, they realized I want to get all this done, but I'm still a man. And so it's I think we just need to really dig deep on stuff more and not feel scared to do the research and not be scared to be like, yeah, maybe this isn't my jam and I don't get down with this. But if this is your jam, hey, do your thing.
So, guys, good conversation. That was, we packed it in real quick. That was a really good conversation. I definitely enjoyed it. So next week is Christmas Eve. Week after that is New Year's Eve. We might be gone for I don't know, unless me and Nikki decide to switch up to a different day. I don't know about that. We might find another day that we do Free Thinkers instead of Tuesday. But
yeah, we're
outside
thinking
of
and
said what?
it'll be to be determined for our last Tuesdays, because again, it's New Year's Eve. So we'll definitely know, before the week is over, what we're going to do next week and the week following. So for sure, stay tuned to the Facebook Freethinkers page, and we'll have more information on there. Don't just assume that we're going to be there that last Tuesday, because I don't know just right now.
Right.
But yeah, no, for sure. If we're not here before, January rolls around, of course.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, all that good stuff.
Absolute happy holidays to everybody. I think you'll see us before the year is over, though.
It's a long time. We got to talk that talk. It'd be hard for it to go that long.
We got a whole lot of other days on the calendar. We can still hop on here and do some impromptu shit. So, but if anybody's in town for the holidays, hit us up. We would love to get together with you. If y'all got some time for the holidays and want to do an impromptu shindig, of course, hit us up. We will. All we need is an excuse to gather. So definitely tap with us if you're in town. But thanks for hanging in there tonight. Everybody feel well. We'll see y'all soon.
Good night.
Bye, y'all.